inviting me into this conversation. I think it's important to get different perspectives from practitioners and leaders across the board. So I like many people in the ESG space, have come to this work in a very interesting and not straight line route. I spent a very long time in the kind of sales and business development profession, a lot of it in technology. But about 20 years ago, I really had a pivot point in which I came to work for an organization that right about the time companies were trying to wrap their arms around what to do post-Enron, post-WorldCom, where cultures and compliance were really exploding within companies due to corporate malfeasance. And I had an opportunity to work in an organization that partnered with companies to help them do the right thing and build cultures of integrity and risk and compliance and governance programs. So that really started me on the path of the G. A lot of the governance pieces, the risk management pieces, the ethics and compliance pieces, which I believe you have to have a solid structure, or the E and the S pieces don't really sing. They don't really come to life. But I was able to spend a number of years in that firm advising companies. And then a buddy of mine that came to Dell Technologies said, "You think it's so easy, try to do it in-house." And so I took him up on the challenge and came to Dell, and I spent 14 years at Dell, the first 10 being in the ethics compliance space, and really enjoyed that work. But had an opportunity to kind of pivot more into the environmental and human rights space. And so I did for the past 4 years, and it has been an incredible challenge, as you know, in this dynamic space. But to get to know the E, the environmental piece, a lot more in depth, and work more in the human rights S piece was incredibly exciting and valuable.
Amazing. So when you say the human rights part of it, because I'm super interested there to learn more about what specifically you were doing. Is this looking like, let's say, across Dell's supply chain, for example, and looking at like where everything you're getting is sourced from? Is it all done ethically? Is that kind of the idea there?
Yeah, and not just at Dell, any company. A lot of the human rights work is sometimes the highest areas of focus are in supply chain, because you have, in many cases, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of suppliers spread out all over the world. And being able to ensure that you're addressing risk or addressing opportunity in those spaces is really difficult. So a lot of the effort is put there because, a big part of human rights, as just one example, is ensuring there's no child labor, forced labor, as just two examples, right? And supply chains can be the places where those types of risks could occur. We were very lucky that Dell and many others within the technology space, and now beyond technology, partnered with an organization called the Responsible Business Alliance, where we got to do that as a collective. One company can't tackle those issues alone. So doing it as a collective, kind of like how we're, the work that you do with the consortium, you're better together. But human rights goes beyond supply chain. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the privacy work and security work that happens inside companies are connected to the right to privacy in the human rights doctrine. Working and living in a corrupt-free environment, a lot of the anti-corruption work that happens in companies is connected to that. And it can even extend to when you make products or use even technology products, accessibility, fair and equal access to things that help make individuals and communities better and more fair and equitable has its roots in a lot of the human rights work. So we focus a lot on supply chain, but it really is pervasive across all aspects.